Hi, I'm Amber Terrell. I am the Senior Manager of Admissions, Operations, and Reporting here at ADEA. Today, we'll present to you the student panel. This is just a journey on the student application process. And here we want to have prospective ADEA CAAPID applicants to learn from current students, alumni about the different processes of applying at our advanced standing programs, as well as the different journeys that they experience. Today, we have our moderator, Dr. Kevin Haney.
Hello, thank you, Amber.
Absolutely.
Welcome to our student and alumni panel question and answer session. I'm Dr. Kevin Haney, Assistant Dean for Academic and Student Administration at the University of Oklahoma College of Dentistry. In that role, I am in charge of the admissions process for our traditional Doctor of Dental Surgery program, as well as our advanced standing program for international dentists. Our OU ASPID program began in 2010, so I've seen a lot of applications come across my desk, and that number continues to increase each year. All express the same dreams and aspirations. We know that you have difficult questions to ask and even more difficult decisions to make. So today, we have invited a few current international program doctors to join us in this discussion to address a few of the more common questions that we in admissions face. This time, I'd like to turn this over to our panelists, have them introduce themselves, and say a few words about where they came from and where they are now located. Let's start with Dr. Hind.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Dr. Haney. And my name is Hindit Jashami, and I'm a second-year advanced standing student at Henry M. Goldman School of Dental Medicine, Boston University. I serve there also as an orientation and admission ambassador. I graduated in 2007 from Iraq Al-Mustasriya University, and I worked for 2 years in Al-Karama Specialized Center. Then I moved to the United States. And then I took some few years of break to fulfill the rewarding motherhood duties. And then after that, I resumed chasing my dream of being a dentist here in the United States. I have my boards, TOEFL, worked for like a couple of dental offices as a dental assistant and volunteered my time in a dental and non-dental healthcare events. And I also had a chance to work as a research assistant in University of Texas at School of Dentistry at Houston in periodontology department. And then I joined the program at Boston University. So welcome everybody and happy to be here with everyone else. Thank you.
Dr. Junan, can you introduce yourself now?
Thank you, Dr. Haney. Hi, everyone. My name is Mohammed. I graduated from dental school in India back in 2013. I'm currently enrolled in the International Dental Studies program at the Arthur A. Dugoni School of Dentistry, the University of the Pacific in California. A little bit about my journey to dental school. Right after my initial training in India, I decided that I wanted to explore other disciplines of healthcare, and I decided to explore and pursue public health. At the same time, my projects and research was heavily inclined towards oral health. I completed my master's in public health program from Chicago State University in 2016. Soon after graduating and working at different universities, I realized how deeply I missed working with patients. And I wanted to attempt the National Dental Boards here in the United States. By the time I cleared both of my boards, there was only one university whose deadline was not passed yet. And I took my chance and I applied for it. During that process, I realized how helpful it was for me to understand the CAAPID portal and the submission criteria, and it made me even more prepared for the next application cycle. Right now, I am a part of the class of 2021, and I also am the class president for the IDS class at the University of the Pacific.
Excellent, thank you. Dr. Deshpande.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Dr. Haney. I'm very excited to be here and help all of you listeners in your journey to getting into an advanced standing program in the US. My name is Sampada, and I went to dental school also in India, like Janet. I'm originally of Indian origin, but I actually grew up in the Middle East, and I still consider Dubai to be my home. But I went to dental school in India, and I graduated in 2013 from one of the best schools called Manipal. And it was during my dental school in India that I already knew that I wanted to continue my education in the US. So it was during my internship year, which is the final year of dental school, that I actually started applying, and I started looking at my boards, finishing like TOEFL requirements. And I really was kind of doing all of those things that we are supposed to be doing. However, it still took me 3 full cycles to get into dental school in the US. And I eventually ended up going to the University of Washington 2.5 years after graduating from Manipal. So it still took me a long time and a few cycles to get here, which is why I'm really excited that CAAPID is putting on this webinar for all of you, so you can learn from some of our mistakes and really become successful as an applicant. I currently live in Seattle, so Seattle is my second home. I loved the University of Washington while I was a student there. I graduated in 2018 and have been practicing as a general dentist in Seattle since then. And my current big project is I'm working on my own startup. So I'm starting my own office very, very soon in Seattle. So that's a little bit about me.
Now that our panelists have introduced themselves, let's go ahead and start with questions. And I'm going to ask that our panelists answer these in the order that they introduce themselves. So the first question is, what's been the single greatest challenge you faced in your journey to be accepted into the program that you're now attending, or in Dr. Deshpande's case, attended?
Okay, so I would go about saying that just to pinpoint like only one single challenge is a little bit hard, as like I would talk about something that like coming from Iraq. It's like a country that was shredded by wars. It was even like a challenge to get probably your transcripts, the needed documentation to provide there in order to submit your application. That challenge also, like if I should relocate, would that be affecting my family in here or my family in there, just trying to pursue your dream and join your program of dreams. Other than that, like the other challenge that I've seen is understanding the whole process, is how to put yourself on, like a paper and try to shine between the others. Put everything that you have in your background, your education, and make it clear to everybody that, like I deserve that spot in that program. It was kind of a process, a challenging process to understand the need of how to do that in order to put it on paper, in order to pursue, like the dream. So I would rather say that it's like more than one challenge. It's, like a little bit from everything, like, but it's doable at the end.
Good. Dr. Junaid.
Yes, I think just piggybacking on what Dr. Hint said, I agree with everything that she said. For me, the single biggest challenge on my road to getting accepted into a dental school was to take the NBD boards. I knew that I always wanted to prepare and challenge the boards at some point, but my master's program and later with the work, it just got harder and harder to allot time and prepare for the boards. I tried to spare more times on the weekends and even during the weekdays, the evening hours, but that did not help me enough to be prepared. And at one point I had to postpone my part 1 as well and move it to a date 6 months later. In that moment, I said to myself that I had to be more strategic about it, plan my studying well, and I took some time off from work and prepared and attempted both the boards and was able to pass them. I know many dental applicants today face this challenge of losing this one most important resource, which is time and time management. When we're not strategic about it, we lose time at hand and keep postponing tasks, which makes people who are listening their dental school dream even more longer and challenging. And that's what happened in my case.
I think that's an excellent point, is you have to be strategic in how you approach this. Dr. Deshpande, how would you respond to that question?
I just wanted to say that I really loved what Jeanette and Hind said. I completely agree with both of you on your specific journey as well, and I had the same experience. If I were to answer this question as honestly as possible, I would say that the single biggest thing that I felt I lacked was really any guidance or mentorship in what are schools looking for, how do I present myself as a confident applicant, how do I really speak at interviews. I think speaking and coming across as a confident applicant was a big game changer for me, because my first 1 or 2 cycles, even though I attended, I think about 4 or 5 interviews, I wasn't speaking like other applicants who were getting in or who were getting accepted. So I think mentorship and really thinking of my colleagues, not as competition, but as friends or as people who can help me. Really, that was the single biggest thing that changed my outlook towards applying to schools. And because I went through a series of challenges in those 2 to 3 years that I was applying, it kind of inspired me to actually write a book about my experiences. And I think all of us foreign trained dentists have so much value to add to prospective applicants. So over the last 1 to 2 years, I have just been speaking to other foreign trained dentists and just getting their input on what made them successful in their journey. And I'm hoping to kind of work with ADEA to bring this book out sometime soon. So if any of you listeners are interested in that, the best way to get in touch with me is through my personal website, which is sampadadeshpande.dds.com. And if you subscribe to my newsletter, I will have a link for the book out pretty soon.
So it looks like there's a pretty wide variety of challenges that everybody had. Anything from lack of mentorship to time commitments to difficulties getting records. And that's all of those are things that I consistently see in all the applications. And they're very, very real. So for our, the folks that are watching, I think those are very wise words to listen to. So question number 2 is, what was the primary factor that each of you looked at when you considered a school as a potential place to continue your training? And let's reverse the order this time. Let's start with Dr. Deshpande, and then we'll go backwards.
Sure. There were 2 or 3 factors that I was looking at in schools that I applied to. Number 1 was I applied to schools that only had 2 or 2.5 year long programs. I wasn't interested in applying to schools that had a longer program because of the time commitment involved. And I really just wanted to get into school, get my degree, and start practicing. I couldn't wait. So I just applied to 2 and 2.5 year long programs. And the other factor was I really just put all of my eggs in the basket. So I applied to every single school that had that was accepting students that did not have a green card or a citizenship status as a factor. There are some schools that require you to submit your immigration documents or require you to have a green card prior to applying. So those schools were obviously at the time, they were not, I couldn't apply to those schools. So as long as they were at least 2 or 2.5 year programs, I applied to every single one. That's what I did.
Very good. Dr. Junaid?
Those are such important, factors that Dr. Deshpande just mentioned. I'm just adding to those because I too wanted to do a 2-year program or 28-month program, and adding to that, I think for me, firstly, the variety and the number of clinical experiences that I would gain being in that program. It can be endodontic procedures or advanced restorative cases. And I made sure before I applied and when I interviewed at those dental schools that I speak with the senior class and get a sense of the procedure mix that they regularly treat at the school, and also what their school requirements were to graduate. Secondly, I think the culture and environment at the dental school. I knew that we'd be spending 2 years or more at any dental school that I get accepted into, and was particular about having peers and faculty who are supportive and involved in my success at the dental school. Because you all, to the listeners, you all have been through your dental training before. You all know how challenging dental school is, and having a great group of people just makes all the difference. And for me, it was very important. So in my conversations with the current students at that time in those dental schools, I would ask them about their experiences, how proactive the school is in building a culture and maintaining a sense of inclusiveness, because we're, advanced standing students, and also integration even with the regular D.D.S class. So I think these were the two major factors that I looked.
Very good. Dr. Hand?
All right, there were some, like great points by Dr. Deshpande and Dr. Junaid. It's each one of us have like a different perspective about how to choose school, what I am going to do with this program. But as far as, like my opinion about this, the best education does not only come like from a class or lab or a clinic that you go in. It is all about the environment that you are in. So you want to go to a school that have that, exactly as Dr. Junaid saying, like that diverse community that will provide that flexibility while you are in there, and just try to create that ideal environment in order to proceed with that. So always think about the school that this is a place that I'm gonna start and advance my future career with. So what do I want to get from there? Do I want to get only, like the, like the scientific part and do only that? Or learn everything about practice management, how I will communicate with the patient, how things going to be, like after graduation, which I think everyone agrees that it's going to be, like more challenging if you are not prepared well enough. So those are different perspectives from each one of us, but look to all aspects before choosing school. And again, as Dr. Deshpande was saying, that when you come to, because you are seeking and chasing that dream and you want to be there in that program, so you try to take every opportunity open in there, try to apply, and see those schools, try to understand everything in each school and what they need. So, like that, finally meet what you need to move on.
Those are great answers from each of you. A little bit more challenging question is, how did you find your international training? How well did it prepare you for the training program that you actually entered into here in the United States? So I've gone from one end to the back, so I'm going to start in the middle this time. Dr. Junaid.
Yeah, so that's a tricky one. During my initial dental school education and training, I realized that we were heavily immersed in didactic aspect of dental training back in my home country. But we also did a lot of clinical, I got a lot of clinical experience, but it was with bread and butter dentistry. When I started dental school at the University of the Pacific, I realized that I had the concepts, but it has been some time since I last practiced dentistry and applied those concepts on patients. So when my training started at the dental school, which was 4 months into the program, I felt I was able to grasp things faster because of my previous training, understand the reasoning behind specific treatment plans and procedures, and it made me get faster at completing procedures too. So in the end, I would say my previous dental training gave me a great foundation and good hand skills to build upon. And my current dental education here in the United States is allowing me to apply those concepts and training to treat even more challenging and advanced cases, and just integrate various disciplines of dentistry and provide comprehensive treatment to patients.
Dr. Deshpande?
Thanks, Dr. Haney. I completely agree with Dr. Jeanette again. I would say that my dental school in India actually prepared me very, very well from an academic standpoint and a clinical standpoint. I'm actually very fond of my school back in India. I would say one more thing. I think the school that I went to in India, Manipal, it also prepared me um, to become a leader in really community service events and engagement activities in the surrounding town. I think the kind of activities that I spent a lot of my weekends in when I was in India. That experience really prepared me for some of the work that I do with nonprofits or with the YMCA over here in Seattle. So that is one aspect that I think that has really carried over very well when I started school in Seattle. The University of Washington added to my education in very different ways. So one of the things that the University of Washington does so well is clinical instruction in dentistry that we have to do for kids and adults with special healthcare needs. This is a part of dentistry that is not really, it's not really done as extensively, I would say that, as it is done at the University of Washington. I feel very biased to my school for that because this is a patient population that I love working with. I think the second thing that the UW really trained us well in is like ethics and patient management. I think most schools do that really, really well, and they really kind of harp on these very important patient management concepts, which I am very grateful for, quite honestly. And I think the third thing really that my school taught me well was really getting good at like prosthodontics, like even like the simplest, smallest of crown preps, really getting down to the nitty gritty. And it might be because the UW is also, I mean, it has alumni like John Coyce or Spear. So it's pretty big in that space of dentistry, which is why they really teach you very strong clinical concepts in pros. So I think both of my schools have really added to my education and training in a way that I will forever be grateful.
Good. Dr. Hand.
Great points was mentioned in there, and I can't agree more about what's been said. I feel, like about my previous education, they were really hard on basics, like we have to stick on those basics. And I guess everything that we build, it should have a foundation, and that foundation was really strong so we can move on from that. And I am really thankful to my previous education about this, because unless you have the clear concepts about those basics, you cannot move on. But again, I totally agree with both of you, Dr. Junaid and Dr. Deshpande, that coming here, the US education, the things that they put, like in our way, and we try to understand how to practice dentistry in here, because I all the time get that question, like, or that, like being an admission orientation ambassador, like, you've been there, you have practiced, you've been in school before, going again to school, do you think that is something that's going to bring up more or give you more? And I always say definitely yes, because practice management, like as you said, ethics, probably knowing the standard of care here, it's different from somewhere else. So those are the things that, it's just exactly like having a puzzle, and, like we work on building that until we have the final full image. So I feel that having previous education was really helpful to put me in advance so I can move on with the next or the future steps. But again, the education that I received here at Boston University also made me more confident of practicing dentistry in the future here in the United States. So I'm thankful for both.
Dr. Haney, I would like to add something. I completely agree with Dr. Hand and Dr. Deshpande. And also, I believe in me, in my education currently, there's a huge emphasis on leadership and team building. because Pacific also sees that when we go out into the workforce, we are working with a team. And the other aspect of how do we keep ourselves updated is through evidence-based dentistry. And that shows in our education, like wherever we get into questioning, why are we doing this way? We go back to the most current research and look at the most recent evidence-based research and move forward in that direction. So I think that too has changed in my thinking from being trained back home in India, where we also did a lot of research over there. I was a part of a lot of research studies, but over here, applying those concepts very heavily in day-to-day practice.
Very good. Each of you mentioned leadership, and oftentimes leadership is one of those things that I think is best developed when you work with a group or amongst others. It's kind of the definition of leadership, as being with others. How much does a school's ability to integrate you into the existing classes factor in, or how much did it factor into your decisions to go where you actually wanted to go? And let's start with Dr. Deshpande.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Dr. Haney. The ability of a school to really integrate you into an existing class was, at least for my experience, it factored pretty big. In my last cycle of applications, I had 3 acceptances. And ultimately, I decided to go with the University of Washington, not only for its clinical reputation, but really because of its ability to integrate me with the traditional D.D.S class. And again, I'm so grateful for that opportunity, because that's how I met my best friend from dental school, who was in the domestic, who was in the regular domestic batch, and we ended up founding a business club together, a nonprofit together. And that would have not, I don't know if it would have been possible otherwise. I think it really depends on the school's ability to facilitate those connections organically between the international program and their traditional program. And I think some schools really do that very well. But the UW, if we are kind of just put into the regular class and we attend classes together, we are in labs together, we're always together as a team. So that was a very big decision for me. I'm so glad I chose that school.
Excellent. Dr. Hind?
I would take that also from a different perspective, as Dr. Deshpande said, from a different experience. And this is, like what is nice about this conversation is that each one of us have their own unique situation. As far as for me, I heard, like from a couple of students and, like a couple of, friends here and there going to different schools. What I liked about BU is that they have a large, very big class of advanced standing. And we were exactly like, like when we put in there, we are like about 86 to 88. I love that having a lot of people sharing like the same experience as you, like it's just exactly remind me that, like going back to school back home when I was there first in the dental school. So it gave me that feeling that I have a lot of classmates and they are going through exactly the same thing. So I felt that, like this is more, it was more important probably for me. As I said, everyone have a different perspective about this. So I felt that we have like, when we are having classes, everyone in there, like they address us as, like advanced standing. We have our own schedule, like they try to manage it in a way. So because many of us have like families, many of us have other commitments. So they manage the schedule very well in order to make it happen for this class, as we are a big class. So I found it like very interesting that way.
Excellent. Dr. Junaid?
Yeah, I agree with what both Dr. Deshpande and Dr. Hind said. I think for me, the experiences were right in the middle. When I joined the program, they made sure that we were calibrated to the level of the D.D.S students in terms of basic sciences and preclinicals and everything. And when we got into the clinic, our group practices, each group practice has IDS students, DDS students, hygiene students, and we are all integrated together. And right now, it doesn't even feel like we are a separate IDS class. By the time we graduate, we all will be calibrated, and we all will have enough, patient experiences. And I believe that the Pacific makes sure that all dental students who are a part of the family, of the Dugoni family, they are involved in some leadership or some cause or some community service at some point in their dental program at the school. And I'm just proud to be there. And as Dr. Deshpande mentioned, I was also accepted at 3 schools, and for the way how Dugoni school presents itself, and how well they're even like people like Bill Dorfman and other leaders in dentistry have come out, like Arthur Dugoni, Dr. Dugoni as well. So looking at those people, I too feel inspired that what, I want to be part of this organization and be called an alumnus once I graduate. So I think these are pretty important decisions that you make before getting accepted into any dental program.
And I think it's one of those that you really have to internalize quite a bit, because you're going to be a part of the community of the school for a couple of years at least. So that's, to me, it doesn't seem to be one that comes up as often as it should, but it really and truly is one of the decisions underneath the service. It's a major decision you have to make. All
Right.
Excellent questions. So got one kind of final question here before we wrap it up. If you could each leave one tip or piece of advice for a future applicant, what would that be? And so Dr. Hen, let's start with you.
Right. So, like with that, this is the most important tip. When I applied for the first cycle, I didn't get like a single interview, not one. When, I understand what is this process, I got 5 interviews, I got accepted in 3 programs. Believe in yourself, never stop. It might seem that this is far away and impossible. No, it's not. Hard work, dedication will put you there, and that dream will be true before you even know it. So just keep on going and never stop. That's always what I keep telling them, and try to understand the process, the needs. You'll be there in no time.
Perfect. Dr. Junaid.
So I'll be talking directly to the viewers. As you all know, applying to dental schools here in the United States is a long, challenging, and a competitive process. My one big and most important tip would be to create your monthly, weekly, and daily goals of what tasks need to be accomplished and stick to them. There will be times when your goals will not be accomplished as planned, but having goals helps you stay on the path and stay focused and stay dedicated to your bigger vision. So manage your time well and have timely goals. Time is of the essence here, even when in the application cycle, in the process. So don't postpone things, just do it. And if you're here, you're listening, you're joining and being a part of the ADEA CAAPID virtual fair, I believe you're already on your path to success and your path towards getting accepted into a dental school in the near future. As this shows your preparation and your enthusiasm to get advanced education in the United States.
And finally, Dr. Deshpande.
Yeah, I did want to share a small story to kind of illustrate my advice. I applied I did like 3 cycles, and it was at the end of my second cycle that, although I had attended 4 interviews, I had gotten no acceptances. I had been waitlisted at 2 schools, and I went through this phase of just being super upset and disappointed, and it was hard for me, just based on the kind of person that I am. I'm a very ambitious, motivated person. And for me to have like not gotten any acceptances after 2 cycles of applying, it was very demotivating. And I'm sure many of you on this call will feel like this at some point. I hope none of you do, but it's just life. And honestly, the thing that really got me out of it was me calling up a friend who got accepted that year and asking her for advice and just telling her, hey, can you just look into my application and really just give me your best input? What is really lacking? And she gave me 2 or 3 tips. She told me to like take a course to prep for like bench tests, and she told me to do like an observership program somewhere in the country, at some place that I would enjoy. And I kind of took her advice, and I got accepted next year. So really, my advice is to, again, kind of circling back to one of the first answers I gave in the interview, is to think of your colleagues as friends. When you attend interviews, don't be shy about like approaching people who are in the interview with you. They are your friends, they are your colleagues. So really talk to them, ask them, hey, where are you from? What has been your journey like? What can I learn from you? Everyone is out here to help you. And really, if you start thinking of everyone as a community, as a team, you will be successful. So really get rid of that scarcity mindset. There's plenty of schools, all of you will get in at some point, and really be positive, and success will be in your path. So don't worry.
I want to sum up in my words what I think I heard each of you say. Have goals. Be willing to bend your goals when you need to, realizing that ultimately your goal is to become a dentist. Be prepared. Be willing to understand that preparation may be beyond what you think it is, but as long as you continue preparing, it makes you a better applicant. Attitude is everything. Attitude is everything. A positive attitude, and you can accomplish the world. And I think I've learned that so much by the international students that I've had the privilege to work with. It's been a growth experience for me over these 10 years, and will continue to be so for the remainder of my career. I think one of the best next steps that our future applicants can actually take is to check out the ADEA CAAPID website. I believe the link will be provided to you in terms of either on the CAAPID website or in short videos. We encourage you to go speak with those programs, call the directors, email them in a number of ways. I like visiting with people, so that happens for me as well. And with that, I'm going to conclude by wishing you all success in your journeys and best wishes for your future success as my future colleagues. Thank you very much for attending today, and happy days.